Okay, so today I think we just basically have a book or a couple book recommendations here. I've been looking at the Elijah-Elisha narrative as a literary source for the Gospels, and I came across a couple books I read this weekend, just wanted to share. One of them is The Crucial Bridge by Thomas L. Brody, and the next is actually by one of his students, I guess you could say, Mark and the Elijah narrative, considering the practice of Greco-Roman imitation and the search for Markan source material. If that title is intimidating, it was to me too. I'm not really interested in Greco-Roman stuff, but just to let you know, that's only really the first chapter in the book, and I read a couple pages, and I passed by it. I thought it was kind of unnecessary. Maybe this guy has a little study in Greco-Roman imitation, and he wanted to put it into his book. It does help build his case a little bit, but I could tell really quickly where he was going with it, so I kind of skipped that. So don't let the title scare you away there. So basically, question is what do we mean by a literary source or imitation, as Adam Wynn talks about here? What we're saying with literary source is, what influenced the literary shape of the gospel. We're not saying that the gospel is a fictitious account based on the Elijah-Elisha narrative, but we are saying that it did heavily influence it. And specifically in Wynn's book, he looked at the gospel according to Mark, which is what we'll talk about here. And again, I'm just sharing. I mean, we all have a lot of common examples that we're well aware of where imitation was used, or just parallel stories, we could say, within the Elijah-Elisha narrative and how it works into the Gospels, especially the synoptics. You have cleansing of the lepers in both stories. You have widows' sons being raised to life in both the Elijah-Elisha narrative and in the Gospels. You have John the Baptist clearly portrayed as a type of Elijah. You have Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration, Elijah's calling of Elisha is a parallel with Jesus' calling of his disciples. And then some maybe lesser known ones, at least to me, some of these don't come out obviously when I'm reading the gospel, but Jesus 3 times predicts his death and resurrection to his disciples, same as Elijah 3 times was told that Elijah would be taken up. And this one was a big one for me here as I was reading these couple books here. Jehu as a type of Jesus Christ. When you start looking at the details, I was actually going to make this video a big study on Jehu as a type of Christ, but it just got too big. The more I looked at it, it was gonna, I like to do shorter videos. This is just something that's growing and growing. I know I'm not seeing the whole picture yet, but these guys kind of hinted at it in their books, but it goes just beyond, I think, even what they're catching here. This was kind of amazing to me, but again, that might be a future video. And there's just so much more, not just these specific events, but even the smaller details around these events. So again, just sharing as a book recommendation. This, I'm considering it a new realization for me. It's going to change the way that I read the Gospels and the Elijah narrative. It's more than just connecting dots. It's more than just saying there's similar stories here. You have not only similar stories, but you have the same sequence. A lot of times, all the same length in the book. A gospel is about the same size as the Elisha narrative. They're both episodic, short episodes, long episodes, just like gospels. And again, you could almost overlay the Elijah narrative on top of a gospel. So again, it's more than just that there are a lot of similar stories. And I was looking at it, it's just amazing. It's kind of like taking the scales off my eyes. So again, I'm going to put links for the books in the description. And as a just disclaimer, I have no association whatsoever with the authors. I'm just sharing this with you because I've been blessed by it. And let me know if you have any comments, questions, or other books that that kind of tackle the same thing. Because again, it's just been a pretty awesome study here. So as always, contend earnestly for the faith which is once for all delivered to the saints, and God bless.